You'll go out, have a cup of coffee, sit there in a chair, throw the ball 10 times. The dog will run, come back, run, come back, run, come back. The dog will let you know when he's tired. And guess what? You don't have a crazy dog anymore. Dog goes home, he goes to sleep. Job done. Great dog. Yeehaw. Just like that. All right. Dog's Best Friend, episode 5. Now, it is said that dogs are a man's best friend and that diamonds are a woman's best friend. Dogs have become women's best friend as well in many situations. Today I'm going to explain to you why dogs' best friend are you. All right, so we're going to start off here with the first vocab and see the new format, how we're going to do this.
You have hello from Chang and Pig Pig.
Hello, Chang and Pig Pig. Pig Pig, not Pig Pig. I keep saying Pig Pig.
Pig Pig.
All right, so the first ones is just a couple of quick words about, we talked about how smart dogs can get. Now, I was a little off last week, so I'm going to have to make a few corrections this week. So, this is more like balance, but the word we're looking for here is average. Okay, so what we're looking at is the average age of how intelligent, how sophisticated the dog can be. All right, so let's take a look at the other picture here. Right, so we know that average is kind of taking an even number, you know, because some dogs are smarter than other dogs, some dogs are not so bright, and they have different temperaments. So some are better for certain kinds of jobs, certain environments, but some are not. They're very different, just like people. Yeah, that's all right. So this one here, again, as we said, we're going to talk about their intelligence.
We have
Right,
hello from Matt Halong.
Hello, Matt Halong. Intelligent. Okay, now how many syllables is that, by the way? Did anybody tell me really quick how many syllables intelligent is? Last week when I talked about how smart dogs could be, I said they could be as smart as a 5-year-old. Everything I researched this week and the staff researched here at New Way indicated that more of a sophistication, an understanding, I guess is what it is. It's not really intelligence, it's a sophistication. Sophistication. And all the reports said that dogs can be as sophisticated as a 2 to 2.5-year-old child. That was about the extent of how intelligent they can become. Okay? So, there we go.
You have 3 syllables from Matt, 4 syllables from Pig Pig, and Chang 5.
Oh my God. Well, if you count that at the end, then it would be 5. Intelligent. We don't count the t. So it would be 4. Pig Pig was right.
You have hello from Miss Chang, teacher in Kamfa.
Miss Chang, teacher from Kamfa. Hello, how are you? I can't hear you.
Bing. Yeah, Hoàng Bing. Quite so long she hasn't joined. So today, hello teacher, my name is Bing. Nice to meet you. Nice to see you too.
Well, it's great to have you join us. The more the better. All right, so as I said, the new format now, I'm just going to give you a little bit of information as we go through the words, instead of waiting until the end and then reading through a whole bunch of things with questions. I think this will be a little more interesting and it'll make it easier for anyone joining at any time. So, the average dog can learn about 165 words. And more intelligent breeds, remember the breeds are the different kinds of dogs, more intelligent breeds can learn up to 250 words. So it's quite a bit. So sit, stay, lay down, off. is just a few. So they can learn a lot more words than most people think. Now, there are exceptions to everything. There's a lot of research that suggests that border collies are some of the brightest, most intelligent dogs that we have. And there is one case study that one border collie actually remembered 1,022 toy names, where they called out all the different toys and he went and got the toy and brought it back. 1,022 words. So, as I said, there's exceptions to everything, just like people.
We have hello from Tokyo.
Mr. Tokyo, is your little alien brother with you?
Or maybe now is the alien, not sure.
Oh, it could be, using someone else's. Facebook, all right. So the average, now these are the statistics that we found, between 165 to 250 words. So that's a lot of words. They can keep you pretty busy. All right, let's go to the next one here. They also, well, this word here is about, just like when you're doing scores in, it could be in sports or it could be at school, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. So we're looking for a word here, and it could be the top 10. They say that border collies, on average, and that's the one up here on the right. This is a border collie. They're mostly used in the countryside, farms and herding, taking care of sheep and cows and different things like that. The German Shepherd, of course, down here. And I was surprised, but the Poodle was on that list of some of the most intelligent dogs. There was also Labrador Retrievers. There's quite a few. We're not going to talk about the ones that scored the lowest. We'll keep that to ourselves, because I'm sure there are exceptions to all of it.
Matt, top.
Well, I wouldn't put the answer right on the screen. So what would it be? To be the top one, you would be the number one. Starts with an R.
Tokyo or alien related.
Related. They're related to the wolf. Related is relation. Yeah, no, it's not related. It's rank. Okay, you could be ranked number 1. You could be ranked number 2. What is your rank? Also, military has a ranking system. Yeah, rank is from top to bottom, right? What rank you're at. So this report ranked the most intelligent dogs, the most sophisticated dogs, from 1 to 10. And the top ones were the Poodle, the border collie. Border collie, that's right. Yeah, the collar border. The German Shepherd was up there. Rottweiler was in there too. There was a few of them. I didn't bother listing them all, but they're all pretty close. All right, so rank. Number 1 was the border collie. All right, what's the next one? Oh no, sorry. New format, I even forgot. We get the word, then we put a sentence. There are studies that rank the smartest dogs. Okay, so you can research that as well. Studies means research, rank, what order, and of course, smart, how smart they are, how intelligent they are.
Pick said that I love these dogs.
They are beautiful dogs. They are beautiful dogs. Now, we've talked about dog trainers. We've talked about dog handlers, which is another word for a trainer. Most of us who have dogs at home are dog owners or even dog masters. But as well as, like most things in the world now, there's people that do all kinds of different jobs. We talked about dog psychology, right? Because there is a study on how intelligent they can be, how sophisticated they can be. So what would we call someone like a dog psychologist, to evaluate your dog, to see how intelligent it is and what it can learn, what it can't learn? It's like when dogs that have careers, that actually work for different we're going to go through the job positions, the jobs that dogs can do. So I don't want to give that word up yet. But sometimes they have to go through an evaluation. You'd have some people who raise shepherds or raise Dobermans or raise border collies and Labradors to do certain jobs. Not all of them actually become a position dog or a dog of a job. But first they have to evaluate their psychology, right? Because some dogs get stressed out if they're in crowds. Some have bad temperaments, they get too upset. Some are not friendly. Some dogs don't like working so much with people. What do you think you would call someone that could help you? Almost like in business. If you wanted some advice on your business, you could talk to who could help advise you, give you advice, information.
Chang, dog helpers, Tokyo dog trainer.
Dog trainer is going to help you train your dog. Remember, we talked about that, where it's not really the dog that needs training, it's the owner that needs training, because the dog does what he's told if you consistently teach him how to do something. The word I'm looking for here is consultant. And they do have dog consultants. Consultant. Yes, they do. They do. So they sit there and they have their little therapy meetings. No, not quite like that. But they're into the study. That's what their job is. That's what their career is. They study dog psychology. So it's quite important for dogs that have careers. You don't want to have the wrong dog with the wrong temperament doing a job that could endanger someone's life or cause problems in the public. It's kind of like police dogs. Police dogs, when they usually work for, I think it's 6 to 8 years, but when they end their career, it's not like they can give a police dog to some family that doesn't understand the psychology of a police dog because of all their training. So in most cases, it has to be the actual police officer, dog handler, who adopts the dog and it becomes his family dog, or another trainer in the police force, because they've been trained so differently that they wouldn't function normally if it wasn't someone who understood how this dog thinks. It could be dangerous for some people. All right, so she's a certified dog behavior consultant. Certified means she is educated in that field. She has done the training courses and passed exams and everything that she has to do, just like anyone else. Behavior is how they act, right? Behavior, your behavior. And consultant is the person who gives advice and helps you, consults you. All right. I hope this new format's a little better with making sentences for the usage of the vocab. Let's see. Let's look at the next one. All right. So these dogs now, as I said, many of the dogs who have jobs, especially if they're government jobs or official jobs, they have to go through a really long evaluation process, which is like where the dog psychologists and stuff have to work with them. Because even though you have 10 nice, beautiful, big German Shepherds, not every one of them or each one of them is going to be accepted to become a police dog. Only 1 or 2 might be picked from that group, okay, that group of dogs. So,
Tokyo, smelling.
yeah, they are, but what is that now? If a dog is smelling, there's a word for that. Looking for something, smelling something. It's called, these dogs are called detection dogs, okay? Detection dogs. And these dogs, put the sentence up here. Detection dogs can be employed at airports, police stations, border crossings, and schools. Some schools, neighborhoods aren't so safe. But these dogs are trained to be able to, well, think about it. If you have a dog working with customs or immigration at the airport or at a police station, border crossing is country to country, like Canada, USA, or USA, Mexico, or China, Vietnam, Indonesia. Land borders, what do they have? They have Brunei up in Kalimantan and Papua New Guinea. So there's a few land borders there too. So you see them at border crossings where you go into another country. What do you think these dogs are used for? That's my question. And at schools.
Have hello from Nguyễn Duy.
Huỳnh Duy.
Nguyễn.
Nguyen Duy. Where is she from?
He.
He?
We will ask.
Where are you from? Huyen Duy.
Nguyễn Duy.
Huyen Duy. I have a very hard time pronouncing Vietnamese. Everybody's laughing at me. I don't know why. All right, detection dogs. What exactly does it mean? What is it to detect something, especially in the case of a dog? Anybody got that one? No? At an airport, you would have a dog, again, using their extremely strong sense of smell, up to 1,000 times more than we have. As I said last week, they can smell things that we will never smell. It's very strong. And no dog has the same ability and smell as well. They're all different, just like a fingerprint. They all have a different amount or ability of smelling capability. Can I even say that? Of sniffing, smelling capability.
So Kyo said detective.
Detective. Well, detectives use the magnifying glass to look for clues everywhere, right? Detection, they use their nose, right? They can smell for like illegal drugs. They can even detect gunpowder. So like, for example, you are trying to smuggle a gun into a country. If that gun's been used, and probably has, like for testing and everything, even if you clean it, a lot of dogs can still smell what is called residue, okay? There are chemicals that can find this as well, but dogs can smell these things. And they're trained to smell certain things, like every border probably has different things that they look for. Maybe it's food, maybe it's chemicals. And yeah, they can detect it with their nose through the bags. So instead of having every person checked, they can have the dogs walk down at the airport. They can bring a police dog into a situation to search for things. Border patrol is the same thing, but not from an airport, but the actual borders where people are driving across, land borders. And schools, it's the same thing, right? Some schools are a bit dangerous.
You have hello from Muhammad Sabil.
Mr. Muhammad finally joined us. He's not late today.
Sabil. I am coming from Indonesia.
Someone else?
No, Muhammad
Muhammad.
Sabil. Yeah.
Yeah, Muhammad. Okay, so yeah, again, in schools it's the same thing. Sometimes they use dogs to make sure that some of the kids aren't being bad and bringing things into the school that they shouldn't. So again, detection, okay, like detective, but you have to block that C sound again. Detective, detection. Detection dogs, the GZ sound. Dogs can be employed. I wonder if they get a paycheck. At airports, police stations, border crossings, and schools. All right, so let's go to the next one. We're going to talk about the different careers and jobs that dogs can have. All right, so here's a really, well, they're all important, but this is a really, I think it's really important because it helps a lot of disabled people. Able is the ability to do something, I can walk, I can run, I can swim, I can climb, right? To be able to do something. But for some people, maybe through birth or accident, they're limited. So the word we use for people who have maybe hearing problems, they're deaf, or they can't see, they're blind, or maybe they've lost a limb, an arm or a leg, these dogs assist them. And this dog is very famous, and it is called what? What do they call a dog like this?
Question.
Yes.
Chang said that detect illegal drugs. What's your question about?
Yeah, that's what we were saying before. Detection dogs are using their nose to smell, sniff, and they can smell the drugs that are coming into a country, or if the police use them to check a house that is under suspicion, they want to check things out. The dog can run through the house and start barking in the attic or behind the fridge, and then sure enough, they find all the illegal contraband, the drugs. All right, so anybody get the name of this dog? What do we call these guys?
Helpful dogs, going guide dogs.
Helpful dog, definitely helpful.
Guide dog.
They're called a guide dog, just like a tour guide who takes you around and shows you when you're on holiday. But this one guides you around to help you get around. Like it helps. It understands crosswalks. It understands when you can cross the street, when it's safe, when it's dangerous. It can also recognize other dogs that might be hostile, meaning could attack or things like that. It's actually able to kind of feel people if people are getting too close or different things, and the dog will push you away in a certain direction, and there's a communication between the guide dog and the owner, and they have to go through quite a training. There are schools that train these dogs specifically for certain people, and then the person has to come in and do all the training to get connected with the dog, and then if it's and it has to be a match too, so there's a lot that goes behind this. And a tip about these working dogs, even though they are very well trained, you shouldn't go and try to pet them. You shouldn't. It's distracting for them. They could think that you're a threat to their master or their handler. As one psychologist, one dog consultant said, you wouldn't go to a disabled person and start petting and playing with his wheelchair. So why would you do it with his guide dog? So it's not a good thing to do.
Matt said that is lead dogs. Can we say that?
A lead dog. Well, actually, there is one job, one position in a group of dogs that we call the lead dog. I've never heard of a guide dog be called a lead dog. But there might be, maybe with some of the police dogs, there's one that does they all have different jobs, different skills that they're trained for. To my knowledge, these dogs that help disabled people or blind and impaired people are just guide dogs. Yeah.
Tokyo said the blind guy looks like a Mr. Beast. I don't know about this.
Mr. Beast or Mr. Bean?
Beast.
Oh, Mr. Beast. I don't know who Mr. Beast is. You'll have to let us know. All right, so these guys are guide dogs. I think we should have a sentence here how we can use this in everyday English. Oh, not yet. We have one more vocab. Sometimes there will be one or two words in vocab first before we put the sentence up. Oh, technical difficulties again. Unbelievable. I'll just dance for you. No, I won't do that. We want you to stay. Oh, start all over again. This is going to take a long time. So, what What are you talking about there, Tokyo? What do you mean, Mr. Beast? Who's Mr. Beast?
He said that. Oh no, Matt. Alan said that. Yes,
This
Mr.
one, yeah.
Beast Gaming.
Mr. Beast Gaming. Oh, okay, I don't know who Mr. Beast is. I know who Deckham or Deke Deckham is, but I don't know who the Beast is. All right, so this one here again, we've got a guide dog, but they wear something special. Some of them actually have a handle where you hold it. Some of them is just a leash. I should have put a picture of a leash in here, that's right. A leash is the one that you hold that goes around their neck. That's called a leash. This is not called a leash. If you strap it to the dog and the dog wears it, it's called something else. Does anybody know what this is called? You can see a really good one up here on this power dog here. Not quite sure what it's for, but it's got orange on it, so it's maybe something more for safety. We're looking at the colors at it. But this guy, you can see the man using the cane here. This usually means that he can't see and he's blind. But these dogs are amazing. And that's a Labrador as well. The Labradors and Labrador Retrievers are the most common. So it's really often that you'll see these dogs used as guide dogs. They have the right temperament and they get along with people. And they're very passive too. Their personality, if another dog is very aggressive and barking, they're actually very laid back. Not that they can't defend, but they're very sophisticated. they don't deal with troublemakers. Yeah, some other dogs that can be troublemakers. Anybody got it? Nobody got it yet? All right, let's see.
Matt, train.
Not train again. We've done training was all last week. Now it's about the dog jobs and some of the equipment that they use. And I want to know what this vest is. And it's called a harness. Harness. Is that what they call it for a horse too? Part that they strap on for the saddle is what you sit on, but I think it's a harness you use for the controlling of the horse, I think. But we're not talking about horses today, just dogs. All right, so we have a sentence for this one. Yeah. A guide dog wears a harness. Okay, so now you know what the harness is, and you know what a guide dog is. But I'm sure there are lead dogs in the movies. There's got to be a lead dog in the movie, I'm sure. You know, and I never added that to this, but there are lots of dog actors too. Okay, they probably make more money. Probably make more money. Okay, next. Okay, now this is, okay, well you try to tell me what it is when everything is kind of crazy and everything is messed up, nothing makes sense, nothing is relaxed, everything is just going in every direction. That's the word I'm looking for here. Because for many dogs, the human world, this is kind of how it looks. You know, everything's busy, everybody's on the go, everything's loud, everything's makes the dog a little bit crazy sometimes. It's a lot harder for dogs to live in a city like this because it's not really their natural habitat. Dogs have a lot of energy. They need to play, they need to run. And some dogs, we're going to talk about them specifically, that they have psychological problems living in the cities because it's so dense, you know, like you see it often, but a lot of dogs get aggressive and a lot of dogs are very hard to control. And one of the reasons is because they're constantly tied up or they're always in the house and they don't get to live in a natural environment. They don't get their exercise. They don't get to burn that energy. And then that just builds up inside of you. Think about it when you were a kid and you're just full of energy, but you can't do nothing. You just gotta sit there and be quiet all day. All day, every day and you can't burn any energy, it would affect you too. Yes.
Trang, disorder going mess, pick, messy,
It is messy.
Tokyo,
That's
Tokyo
very messy.
insane speed.
Insane too, absolutely.
You messy.
The word is
Look like a fast forward. Mad.
chaos. I'm wrong. It's not chaos, it's chaotic. But chaos is the same. Chaotic means crazy, out of control, like nothing has a system to it. It's not systematic, okay? Even people don't function well in an environment that is chaotic or in a state of chaos. So for many dogs, you have to remember and understand that they see a lot of our world as chaotic. Okay? All right, and they also see it another way. We'll look at the next one here. Something that we tend to experience a lot. You know, I think the number one cause is money. You know, when you have to worry about bills and education and studying and it could be in relationships. It could be a lot of other things, but when the pressure gets so strong, and usually this is caused because you have problems and you don't want to deal with it, or you can't deal with it for certain situations, and this brings this on for us as well. And I guess for dogs, often there's nothing they can do about it. They have to deal with it because we rule their world. Yeah, so anybody got this word for me?
Sorry, we
Yes.
already show up, I think. Yeah, already. But here, mass is that dizziness, I think. But we already show the words for
It can-
accident.
Oh, did we? Okay. Yeah, it's not dizziness. Dizziness is when you kind of lose balance, right? You know, your head is spinning, you see stars. Dizziness, sometimes you get up too fast and you have like a little black spell, they call it. That's dizzy. Everything seems like it's moving a little bit. That's dizzy. This is stress, you know, something that we all have to live with at one point or another. And as I say, it's a little different for dogs because for us, sometimes we have to deal with something we don't want to deal with. It causes stress. In many cases, we bring stress on ourselves because we don't want to deal with something. And it's like, oh, I don't want to do this. No, I don't. Oh, I'm so stressed out. All right, so every case is different, but that's the cause of stress, you know, the problems that are out there. Okay, so we have a sentence for this one? Yeah, all right, so as I was saying, the human world, our world, the human world is a chaotic and stressful, a human world is chaotic and stressful for many dogs. All right, so something to remember when everything's going crazy and the poor dog is sitting there not understanding what's going on. All right. Let's take a look at another picture. Yeah, well, we talked about now you got detective in my head. That's Tokyo, I think, right? Saying detective?
Detective.
Yeah. What is the word again? Not detective, but
Detection.
detection, right? All right, so here's another dog, a detection dog, a dog that is working. Where do you think he's working? Who do you think he's working with? What kind of a working dog do you think this is? What do you think his job is?
Tokyo. Politic. Dog.
Political dog?
Politic dog.
Never heard of a political dog. Imagine if they had dog governments. Oh my God. Maybe the world would be simpler. Maybe. All right, so what do you think this guy's doing? Looking for a place to, you know what? Looking for a tree? No, I don't think so. But you can see that the man handling, the handler, is using a leash. That's a picture of a leash. Yeah, you can even see it
Police
in
dog.
Yeah, I think that's
Tokyo
Italian.
with the FBI.
Yeah, it's a police dog. Whether there's a lot of
Johanna.
police around.
Johanna police dog.
Very popular working dog, police dog. Absolutely. All right. So sometimes they have to wear that muzzle. It's muzzle. It's called, yeah, muzzle, to protect the people, because some dogs are very aggressive and they might bite you. Yeah. And it's wearing a police harness, as you can see, and looks like they're testing and sniffing things and looking for something, or just training and practice. Working dogs practice their trade, their work every day. All right, so what else we got
We
here?
have Johanna joining, so we're happy for that.
Johanna. Hello, Johanna. All right, so we went through another job. What's another job? Or do we have another one here? This one is, got a video on that? Yeah, there we go. Okay. So this is about the breed of dog that is used by many organizations and many, especially the police. What kind of breed is this? It's one of my absolute favorite dogs. I've been lucky enough in my life to have 2 purebred these, and one was a half-half. What do they call them? I don't know, a mutt, but a half-breed mix between different dogs. I think it was Labs and something else. When I was young, and their names were Jackie and Brownie. If my father's watching, he'll remember them.
Johanna, hello sir, good night in Indonesia. No?
And good night.
evening. Good
It's
evening
too
to you.
early for good night. It's good evening.
We have the same time zone.
Yeah, it's exactly the same time in Jakarta. Not all. Eastern Indonesia is an hour difference, an hour ahead of us. But for Java and Sumatra is the same time as Vietnam here in Da Nang. Yeah. Nobody got my dog yet? Really? Unbelievable. It's a shepherd. Okay, now there's a few. There are Belgian shepherds. There are, I saw 3 or 4 different kinds. This is one of the most popular, probably the most popular shepherd. It's called the German Shepherd, and they're absolutely amazing dogs to work with. Wonderful dogs. Okay, German Shepherd, German. Germany is the country. German is the adjective, the people. Yeah, the German, the adjective. German people live in Germany. Shepherds, another DZ sound. All right, the sentence is, most police dogs are German Shepherds. Now, there are some that have Rottweilers. They're a little bit, they're thicker. They're a little bit wider. They're big dogs. You see, everybody has seen a Rottweiler. I'm not sure if we have one in our pictures here today. One that I'd like to have a picture of that I've seen as police dogs, they're called pinchers, Doberman pinchers. And they're very sleek, really muscular and thin. They're about the same size, tight, short hair. They're beautiful dogs, really pointy ears. Those are also very popular for police dogs, Doberman pinchers. All right, next one. Okay, so these guys now it's hard to tell because, I mean, maybe there's just a bunch of dog lovers going for a walk in the wilderness. But the word we're actually looking for here is like engagement, and a lot of the working dogs in these organizations, I guess we'll call them, you know, the airports and the dog units, police that we talked about. Not only do they stay in the back and only come out when they work, but often this is the word I'm looking for, they get involved with other organizations. They go to schools and do shows and demonstrate things. They're very active. They're part of that organization, and they do numerous things. They don't just sit in the back and wait to check people's baggage. All right, so What is it when you get involved and you help and you play a role and you be part of the team? There's a word for that. When you come together, get involved.
Dog. It's the previous one.
Participate is the word we're looking for here. Yeah, participate.
Tokyo engage.
Engage is to get going, to get into it, yeah. Or as Star Trek would say, engage. The ship would go into outer space. Yeah, so to join in, to contribute, the engagement of it, yeah.
Not really sure.
Participate.
Not really sure what Matt's trying to say. I think it's hold. Hold is maybe for previous question about kind of dog, maybe.
Hound?
Hound.
H-O-U-N-D?
Yeah.
Hound, yeah. Hounds are great hunting dogs. They're one of the best hunting dogs. They have incredible noses. And some of the hounds are really popular for racing as well. Like the greyhound, I believe, I'm not sure, but I believe the greyhound was a very sleek gray dog, long and skinny. I think that's the fastest dog in the world. And those are the, where is it? Again, I think in the southern United States. I believe Florida has this. They have dog races, like horse races. They run around a track, they put a rabbit in front of them and they run. And I'm pretty sure all of the dogs that compete are greyhounds. Again, if anybody's Googling and checking, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they're greyhounds, and I'm pretty sure they're the fastest.
We also have a good evening from Margareta.
Margarita. Where are you from, Margarita?
I think Indonesia too.
Ah. Hello, Margarita. Welcome to English with Trevor live. Glad to see new people coming all the time.
What's it to say? No time, no see. Long time no see.
So maybe you know me from when I was in Indonesia.
No, another.
Oh, another.
Another Vietnamese name, but no time no see. So I'm not really sure what she means or he means.
All right, so here's the sentence using participation. Participate. The canine unit, and again, canine is another word for dogs, right? Usually the bigger dogs, the shepherds and them are called canines. I'm not sure if chihuahuas and snitchews, forgive my language, snitchews, I believe they're called, or switchews, I can't even pronounce that name. And wiener dogs and the smaller ones, I'm not sure if they're actually called canines. I've always been under the impression, the thought, that canines were only the bigger dogs, but not 100% sure on that. So the canine unit participates, right? It gets involved in all aspects of policing. Okay, so what that means, all aspects, means it's not just there for jobs. It participates in functions and shows, and it gets around. They take the dogs everywhere. It's very active. They have a very active life. They're not bored, that's for sure.
I have a question from Margareta.
Margarita?
Yeah. Are the dogs all German Shepherd? I can see there's one dog different from the others in color and shape.
They are. What did we say last week? There are about 350 different breeds of dogs, right? You have smaller dogs, as I just said. I think there's Shih Tzu. There's terriers. There are chihuahuas. There are a lot of really small dog pugs, ones with a little wrinkly face that are very popular. And then there are medium-sized dogs like collies and oh boy, there's just so many of them. And then, of course, German Shepherds are one of the most popular ones, and you can see a lot of these. This is a Labrador. It's got short hair, so it's probably just the Labrador. The Labrador Retriever has longer golden hair. But a lot of them, yeah, you can see at the front there, there's quite a few of them are German Shepherds. But yeah, there are so many. There's boxers, there are Mastiffs, there are St. Bernard dogs, there are Newfoundland dogs. Oh my God, there's, like I said, about 350 different breeds of dogs. Okay, so the K9 unit participates in all aspects of policing. Yeah, so they're everywhere. If they're doing anything, there'll be dogs around. All right, so let's move on to the next one. All right, these guys, yeah, probably some of the oldest working dogs. I don't mean the dog, but I mean the actual trade, the career, the job that people have used, and probably how dogs and humans began working together. You know, for one thing, dogs were attracted to humans because of leftovers and food scraps, and it probably didn't take that long. They say between 20,000 and 40,000 years ago. Some even speculate that it happened, the domestication process happened a couple of times, maybe more. But if I were to guess or suggest, it was probably a lot of stuff like this too, where humans realized, wait a minute, you know, these dogs, we can work with them. And I'm guessing this kind of work, protecting livestock, right? Protecting animals from wolves and foxes was probably one of the first jobs. As people got better working with dogs and dogs got more comfortable, wolves, I should be saying wolves, this is a very old job for a dog. So what do you think this is when dogs take care of your sheep or cattle? Cattle is like cows, right? What else? Lamb.
Herring dog. Herring.
Herding.
Herding. So
Yeah,
there's
that's
something
exactly
missing.
what it
So D is missing, I think.
H-E-R.
Yeah. Cattle.
D-I-N-G.
Cattle dogs.
Yeah, that's what they can be also known. The sentence, actually, is that what's next? The sentence?
Not fix it and say that
Okay,
dog
yeah.
breeding.
No, breeding is
Breeding.
making puppies.
Yeah. You are now so think that is cattle dog.
Yeah, breeds are the types of dogs. Breeding with one E is puppies, making puppies. That's as far as I'm going to go on that one. Okay, so yeah, exactly. Herding dogs can be called sheep dogs. You hear that a lot. I'm pretty sure down in New Zealand, in these places where they have lots of sheep farms, they call them sheep dogs. I would say herding is more cattle and stuff, but they also call them, are even called cattle dogs. And I've even seen some reports and studies that we did that they refer to them as cow dogs. So yeah, you're right. They can be sheep dog, they can be herding dogs, they can be cattle dogs, and even cow dogs. Yeah, that's right. Herding dogs. Next. All right, so this is the one I was talking about, is one of the most intelligent dogs, most sophisticated dogs that we have in today's world. Does anybody remember what dog that was? It's rated #1 on every report or study that I read. And the other word, well actually, I'm not looking for the name of the dog, but I just want to know if anybody's paying attention and remembers. But the word I'm actually looking for is this kind of living, how people live in cities or around cities, especially around the city. What do we call this kind of life? And I don't mean rural or urban living. I'm just talking about, we call these areas have a word. So I'm looking for that word.
Pick. Border collie dog.
Yeah, border collie is the dog. That's a picture of a border collie up there. And that's one of the dogs one of the ones, but it actually is the one that's rated #1 in everything that we studied. So what I want you to look at here, we're still looking for the word of this kind of community where people are living, what we call this. And then we have something that is quite the contrast, right? Contrast, something very different. In the corner here where we have the border collie running in an open field. So it's a bit different. It's a bit different of an environment, right? And I mentioned earlier that for many dogs, it can be chaotic and stressful. Chaotic and stressful for the animals. Yes?
Pick. That's urban area.
Yeah, but they call this a suburb. Like many cities will have suburbs and they'll have names. And it's really just like a built neighborhood for people to, where people live, right? Because not everybody can live downtown. They have to move out to the suburbs and residential areas is what they're called. Residential areas. And the word is suburb. I live in the suburbs of New York or the suburbs of Toronto. Okay. So my point now is border collies end up with behavioral issues because they are so bored with the suburban lifestyle. A lot of the research we did, it was pretty surprising how much specifically the border collies would have behavioral issues, meaning that they wouldn't train well, they didn't cope well with other dogs, they didn't get along as well. And these are naturally very, very playful, friendly, highly, highly energetic dogs. And that's kind of the problem. So sometimes when you're thinking about getting a pet or a dog, you really should do some research to find out what that dog, what the temperament is and what their skills are and what they're used for, what they're bred for, okay? How they've been, built to be who they are and what they are. And this is an example of a bad environment for a border collie. A border collie is a working dog that should be outdoors in the fields all day, taking care of sheep, taking care of cows, taking care of lambs. It has such a high level of energy that it actually affects them psychologically and mentally if they live as a house dog or in a suburban like this. And there's a lot of studies that show that the dog is not normal because of their living environment. So imagine how many dogs have you walked by down the streets in the neighborhood, the back alleys, and you see a dog on a 1 meter chain. What does the dog do? Is he all happy to see you and friendly? No, he's usually ready to take your head off. Would you be happy if you were chained up all day long? I don't think so. Border collies end up with behavior issues, problems, because they are so bored with the suburban lifestyles, right? They don't make good city dogs. That's just some research. Next. All right, so back to working dogs, detection dogs, not detective dogs. Thank you, Tokyo. All right, so these guys here, they're, again, detection, but they have a different job now. They're trained to, for example, you had that terrible disaster at 9/11 when the World Trade Centers came down. There were a lot of dogs that went in trying to find people under all the rubble and all the destruction, right? Because it was, you have all this area, you have to find someone who's endangered or injured, right? It's easier for the dog to find them than it is for you. You could sit there and dig and dig and dig and then find out that the person you were looking for was 1 meter to the right or 1 meter to the left. But the dog can smell them and they can hear different things. So these dogs do a different job. Often they do this work in forests when people get lost.
You have a question from Margaretha. Suburban. With suburb, it's like a people and the place. No, suburban is just adjective.
Yeah, suburban neighborhood.
Adjective.
For example, I'm trying to remember. It's not that,
No,
In-
she tried to say like the word is for people or people
No, it's
and
the
the place.
area. It's
No.
the neighborhood. It's the lifestyle. It's the lifestyle.
Suburban.
It's a
adjective.
housing area outside of a city, is what it is. So I may live in a suburban area outside of downtown Calgary in Deerfoot, right? And that's the name of that suburb. It's where they build a lot of houses and sell them. And I live in Deerfoot. That's where, or I live in a Hunt Club in Ottawa. Yeah.
We just say
It's an
that
area.
suburban is adjective of suburb. That's what she's asking.
Suburban area. Yeah. Okay. So these guys, often people get lost in the forest, and these dogs will help find people. So what is the word we're looking for? Did anybody get that one yet? Or maybe there's, like I say, there's been some natural disasters and buildings have fallen down, and these dogs come through and try to find injured survivors, trained again for different skills. Oh, all right, already have it. There you go. Search and rescue. That's another job that a lot of dogs take care of. Search, to look for, and rescue, right, to make sure they get help to get out of there. Yeah, search and rescue. Okay. Next one. I'm thinking this was part of search and rescue, wasn't it? Yeah. All right, so part of search and rescue, when they go out into the forest or the areas to find these people, what do you call the place that they're, right? You want to find the of the injured person or the crash. Maybe it's a helicopter crash. Maybe it's someone who escaped from prison, and you have the dogs trying to find him and chase him through the forest. See, this guy is lost in the woods, so he hasn't been home all day, and his friends knew that he went out into the wilderness, and he has no cell phone connection, so they're going to have to go look for him. Lost and found. Yeah.
Location.
Yeah. So you want to find their location. That's the place they are. Location. All right. Or locate. We need to locate this person. We need to find out or know their location. Okay, good. Next. All right, so in some situations now, especially in the military, you can have a situation where someone got hurt, right? Just like in an accident in the forest. So search and rescue dogs also are used to find people who have been, what do you call it, when you hurt your arm or hurt your leg and you need to be rescued, you need to have help. What would you call that? And we talked about at the hospital before. So we went through this word before. There's a lot of difference between hurt and this word. Hurt, you know, oh, that hurt, but you go play football again. It's a little bit different. But when you need assistance, you need help, in that case, you are, or you have been,
Victim.
you could be a victim. A victim is a little different. A victim is someone who has been singled out, could have been attacked, or could have been a focus on robbery or something, could be a victim. Victim is someone that something bad has happened to them, and it wasn't them, that it wasn't accidental. Would it be accidental? I was a victim in a car crash? No, I don't think so. I think...
Sang, Quỳnh and Matt injured.
Yeah, that's the one.
Injured.
Injured.
Injured people.
I can't think of a way to use victim in an accidental. Because would you no, I guess you could. I guess you could be a victim of an earthquake or something like that. Yeah, the victims. I don't know. To me, that's injured. I'd like to check that one. I'm not really sure. I don't.
Mimi just joined and has the right answer. Injured.
Who?
Mimi.
Ah, Mimi. Hello, Mimi. Injure. Injured. He has been injured. Yeah. All right. So, search and rescue dogs help locate missing, lost, and injured people. Right. So that's the job of search and rescue. You know, to help people. Like I said, been hurt, lost, injured. Locate missing people. Okay. That's another very important job that dogs do very, very well. You don't see too many cats do this job. And don't get me wrong, I like cats too. I've had lots of cats, I love cats, but this is just about dogs. How incredible they really are. I'm kind of hoping that after these 2 episodes that we've had, these 2 shows, you'll see your dogs a little bit differently. All right, so what's next? Right, one of the oldest jobs here too. And these guys are pretty amazing. These are like, I guess they call them Alaskan Huskies and Siberian Huskies. They're Huskies anyway. They're built for cold weather. Extremely durable. And they can really, there's actually a movie made about, it's called 8 Below. And how remarkable these dogs are. The Huskies, a different breed again, bred just for this kind of life. An expedition, they went to Antarctica, one of the harshest places in the world. So I'm looking for the word. What do we call these dogs? So while I'm waiting, I'm going to tell you a little story about a movie called 8 Below, based on a true story. And you should watch it. It's an incredible story. These, I think they were scientists because they were looking for a meteor that crashed into Antarctica, the South Pole. And they couldn't use the equipment that they had, like tractors and snowmobiles, because the snow wasn't solid enough. That was too dangerous. So they decided to use these dogs, the old traditional way to travel in, I'm not going to give you the north, but the south, the Antarctica. And that's what they did. And they traveled and they got there, but there was a really big storm coming in. And they had to evacuate. They had to leave. Okay? And what happened is they ended up finding a couple of pieces of this meteorite, an asteroid from outer space, crashed to Earth. Scientists. And they got back to camp, but they had all left and something like that, and they couldn't bring the dogs back. So the idea was leave the dogs at the camp because they couldn't bring them with them. There wasn't enough room or something like that. And they had the idea that in a few days when the storm calms, they'll come back and get the dogs. Fair enough. So the handler or the owner of the dogs, trainer, I guess agreed reluctantly, probably didn't have much of a choice. It's been a long time since I've seen this movie. And so they left the dogs, and then 3 or 4 days later, the storm didn't stop. And then the winter set in, so it was unsafe to travel there for a few months. So he tried everything to go back. He felt that he had to go back to the dogs. Of course, everybody thought the dogs would be dead by now, and they were tied up on chains. And he did find a way to come back 5 months later, as they had to stay there for 5 months in the worst conditions on the planet. And he found the chains where they were tied up, and there were 8 dogs. 6 of them actually broke the chains, got loose, but 2 didn't, so they ended up dying. And it wasn't long after they got there that I think 5 dogs came back over the horizon, and they had survived. They had learned how to hunt. They had learned how to hunt birds and things like this, and they survived. I think 5 out of 8 survived, if I remember correctly. Maybe 6.
So
Incredible
you have
story.
a dog sled,
Yeah, well, okay.
going sled dog.
Yeah,
Pig,
this is a sled.
sled,
Some people say slay or use it as a verb, slaying.
husky,
S-L-A.
translate dog.
Yeah.
Johanna,
They're
sled
called
dog.
sled dogs. That's what they're called. Sled dog. A sled dog, sled dogs, and they're huskies, the breed that does it.
But
Incredible dogs.
You have an interesting answer from Mimi. Dog scissors. I searched in Google.
Dog scissors.
Scissors.
Oh my God, never heard of that one. That's we're gonna have to Google that. Someone Google that. Dog scissors. I gotta know what that one is. So yes, they're dog sleds. They are slaying is the verb. And these guys, what's the next picture here we have? Give a long story. Yeah, so not many people except research facilities and stuff like that live in Antarctica in the south. So these dogs live up in northern Canada, northern Russia, Scandinavia, Greenland. The Inuits use these animals, these dogs, all the time. Sled dogs. And this is a picture of North America. And you notice how it's white and then it's not so white and white. Wintertime, the snow comes all the way down to the USA, down in here, and Canada completely freezes over. But up top, you see it stays white. That's where a lot of the icebergs and everything come from, I think most of them. What do we call the North Pole? And this is where the Huskies and the Inuits, I think the old word was Eskimos, but for some reason it's politically incorrect to say that now. So they're called Inuit. What do we call that place? Actually a frozen ocean up here at the top. Like I said, lots of icebergs from here.
Arctic.
Yeah, Arc. Another one of those C's. Arctic. The Arctic. Arctic Ocean, the Arctic area. Yeah.
Matt also has the same answer.
Good. Good, good. Arctic. Very cold place. I once had an opportunity to go on a 30-day survival training, I guess what you want to call it. A friend of mine was in the military, but unfortunately at the last minute they found enough of the soldiers and recruits that needed the training, so I couldn't go. I was very disappointed because I really wanted to do that. I was very young then. I don't know if I'd try it today. The Arctic. All right, so what do we got for a sentence here? How are we going to use Arctic and sled dogs? Here we go. Sled dogs have been used in the Arctic for at least 9,000 years and can run up to 200 kilometers per day. Incredible dogs. Can you imagine running in the snow 200 kilometers in a day? Up to 200 kilometers in a day? Incredible dogs. Yes. It would be hard for them to live in Indonesia. I think they would. You'd have to shave them. They would look very funny. Yeah. All right. What's the next one? What do we got here? Are we going into tips? Yes. I promised you last week that I would give you some basic tips about how to train your dog. Now, of course, it takes months and a lot of practice and a lot of patience to train your dog. But I'll give you a few things today that you can start using immediately, and I'm sure that in a very short period of time, you'll see some differences with your dog. So I hope this helps. So here we go. Trevor's canine tips. Number 1, syllables. How many sounds there are in a word? Okay, so intelligent, right? Acrobat. 2, only 1 syllable, right? High, 1 syllable. On, off, 1 syllable. The reason I say this is because think about the name you will give your dog. Short names, 1 or 2 syllables, are better, like Piper, Pepper, Max, Toby. it helps get their attention, right? If you call your dog Alfonso Margarita the Seventh, the dog's going to think you're crazy. Like I said, chaotic world for dogs, all right? You want to keep the vocabulary very small, okay? This is why the basic, and there's a lot of commands. We're not going to go into all the different things you can do, because there's a lot. You can teach your dog to play dead, you know, and teach them the word bang, and all kinds of different fun things you can do once you get used to training a dog. But at first, the basics, right? Sit, down, stay, off, heel, right? They're all one-syllable words, right? It makes it easier for the dog to remember these words, all right? So when you're naming a dog, try to keep it simple.
Mimi, I have a dog, but it's so stupid, so I wonder if you can help her.
You better pay attention and take notes. All right, so again, keep it really simple. Now, even if you have dogs and you've had the dog for 5 years, you can still apply some of the things I'm going to tell you today. And I promise you, if you do it the way I tell you to do it, you will see small changes in the dog. All right, so another thing that we talked about last week. So number one, keep it simple, right? All the words you use, simple.
I'm not sure. Maybe you have to give another tip for Margareta. I was bitten by a dog because I ran away when it was barking.
Yeah.
Will all breeds of dog catch us when we are running away from them? Won't they chase us if we keep stay calmly?
Yeah. That's a really good question. And unfortunately, there are many people everywhere in the world that do not understand the dog, and the dog does not know how to behave. But if you want to take this to a dog psychology level, all right, this is what happens. All animals, even if you run into a wild bear, okay, or a lion or a tiger in the wild, if they're hungry, you don't have a choice. You're in big trouble, and maybe running is the only chance you have, or a big cliff. But a rule of thumb is not to run, because it is an animal's automatic instinct. If someone runs away, you run after it. Even if you're playing with your dog and it's a very friendly dog and you run, the dog's going to chase you. It thinks you're playing. It's just instinctive. So I'm really sorry that you got bit by a dog. Even here in Da Nang, beautiful Da Nang, we go for walks a lot. And it seems at nighttime, of course, instinctively, dogs become very protective of their homes, and a lot of dogs are tied up. Their temperaments are not controlled, so they're very aggressive. And sometimes dogs come running out at us. And honestly, what I do is I actually stop and I look at them. Sometimes I even get down and try to, not pet them, but try to get them to smell my hand. And they might sit there and they keep barking. But what's funny is sometimes they bark and their tail is still going like this. It's a bluff. But if I run, I saw the same dog that does this to me every time I walk by, and I always stop. I saw the same dog chasing a guy running down the street, trying to bite his leg. Instinctive. I hate to say don't run away from an aggressive dog, but I have to say don't run, just stare it down and get ready to kick it if it tries to bite you. Because you cannot outrun a dog. Even if it's a Chihuahua, it doesn't matter. The dog has got 4 legs, you've got 2. He runs much faster. You can't outrun it. I hope that answers your question. And again, sorry you got bit. Do some kung fu. Okay. Now, we talked about this one already. We're almost done. I'm not going to do 2. I hope we're not doing 2 hours. What time is it? How long have we been doing this now? So an hour and a half, almost. I talk too much. What can I do? That's what they keep telling me. You know why it's so long, Trevor? Because you never stop talking. What can I do? I said it last week. Have a family meeting before you bring a new furry friend home. Decide what they can and can't do. For example, are they allowed on the bed or the furniture? Are there rooms that are off limits? I said it last week. I'm going to say it again really quick. You're not going to be able to train your dog at all, Mimi, if you don't sit down with mom and dad, brothers and sisters, aunt and uncles, grandma and grandpa, and make some rules. First of all, it amazes me how many people I've met that didn't even give their dog a name. It's just the dog. Okay. And you wonder why the dog is biting people. Okay? You got to sit down with the family and decide. If you can't communicate with your family on what the dog can and can't do and what its name is, don't even bother, because you can't train it. All right? So it's number one. Because imagine, if you're trying to get your dog to understand that he's not allowed on the sofa, or you're trying to get the dog to stop jumping on grandma every time she comes over, or you're trying to get the dog to sit down and stop barking at people, everybody in the house has to use the same word consistently every day forever, or the dog will never learn. Consistency. Decide what you're going to do with your family before you try to train a dog. Next. Okay. Now, let's say you actually did have a little meeting with the family and you all agreed, okay, let's give this a try. Let's see if we can work with this dog and understand the dog. Okay, so one of the first things you have to realize is a dog needs its own space too. Okay? Now, dogs need a private place too. Think about building a dog house, a kennel, or buying a kennel, I guess it would be, and maybe even a dog bed in the house, right? When I had dogs, and I had an apartment, and I had 3 dogs, they all had their own little lay down areas. I just used nice rough blankets, and I folded them up because it was easy to shake them outside and clean the hair off it. But every time they were being bad, I'd just bring the dog and make him sit there and make him stay for a while. Eventually, every time I walked in the house, he's always laying on his blanket. It was his place. We'd have guests come over, watch movies, eat popcorn. Popcorn, I love popcorn. And the dogs would stay in their bed unless they wanted to go out or something. They learnt, okay? Consistency. The other thing is, if your dog's going to spend a lot of time outdoors, get a dog house. Build a dog house. It's not that difficult. I was building them when I was 10 years old. If you don't want to, you can buy what's called a kennel. Now, I don't like kennels. Sorry. I didn't like the idea of kennels. I thought it was mean. Why would I get a dog and put the dog in a cage? That's not what it is, actually. It's when you're training them at first and they're in the house, you put them in the kennel and the dog gets used to it like a little home. It's not a jail. And then when you're home, you let the dog out. It also helps them potty train, house train, so they don't do things in the kitchen floor, because they won't do nothing like that in the area where they sleep. They learn to hold themselves until you come back. Okay? So these are great ways to help the dog relax and get away from all the stress. Right? Half the time we had kennels in the house, and often, where's the dogs? And the door would be wide open, but they would be laying down in the kennel because they were just comfortable there. It's just a good way to train dogs. All right, so these are options that you can do, you can use having a dog live in your house. Okay, next. Now this tip is just common sense, right? Always let your dog know when they're doing something right. Reward them. Ignore them when they behave badly. Okay, so I'll give you a little example. My shepherd, the last one I had, was a very big dog. And when he jumped up, the dog literally put his paws on my shoulder and looked at me straight eye to eye. So he was a big dog. Now, I loved it when the dog jumped up on me. It was cool. I was rough with him. She was rough with me, and I was rough with her. It was fine. But never did the shepherd jump on anybody else in the house or any guests. Okay? And it's really simple. Anytime the dog tried to jump, I at first completely ignored the dog. Completely ignored the dog. As soon as the dog began to sit down, because eventually he will, then we rewarded him and gave them treats. Reinforcing the good behavior, ignoring the bad behavior. This takes weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. Every day, every day, every day, every day. Not you do it and I don't do it and then she does it and he doesn't do it. It doesn't work that way. Everybody has to do it. It will come, but it takes time. Okay? So when they do something right, reward them, pet them, scratch their ears. They love that. Give them a treat. But when they're doing something bad, completely ignore them. Don't pay any attention to them. Next. Next tip. Back to commands. Be consistent and use the same words. Don't be confused with down and off. Okay, so there's just a couple of little things again. Like I said, if you're going to say sit is sit, and it means sit down, and stay is stay, means don't move, and down means lay down, everybody has to use the same word. You can't go in the house and tell the dog, get off the sofa. And the other person comes in the house, get off the sofa. And the other person says, you dumb, get out. And the other one says, no! And the other one kicks the couch. It doesn't work. Same, okay? And keep the words nice and easy, consistently. Down and off, all right? Dog is on the sofa. Don't say down. Down means lay down. Say off. If the dog is jumping on you, say down to get off. That way, right? Because there's a difference between get off of something or lay down, right? So you have to make sure, again, everybody's using the same commands. All right, we're almost done. Another tip. Okay, now this is a big one, and this is the biggest mistake I've made when I was younger, and the biggest mistake I see most people do. You can only punish a dog for doing something wrong when they do it, meaning you have to see it. It has to be right now, okay? Again, you got to think dog psychology, dog time, right? They do not remember what they did 5 minutes ago. Coming home and getting angry because the dog chewed your shoe hours ago and then hitting the dog with the shoe has no idea that anything has to do with the shoe. It's all about the action at the moment. All right, and I'm going to tell you how to fix this, because that's the biggest problem. Well, it's easy to say, but what do I do? I'm going to tell you what you can do. Next. The best tool I have ever used in my life with dogs. And all it is a can of soda pop, like a Coca-Cola or Pepsi or whatever. Finished, of course, nothing in it. And you can use coins, okay, maybe 5 to 10, depending how big the coins are. If you don't have coins, which is a problem in some countries, you can use washers. When you screw in a screw and you have that little ring with a hole in it to a spacer between the screw and the wall. What happens is this. You put them inside the can, and when you shake it, it rattles, and it's a high-pitched sound. Dogs don't like it because they have sensitive ears and sensitive noses. What I did was that, okay, before I explain this, I'm going to explain again about how you have to punish a dog when he's doing it. You have to make sure the dog understands exactly what's happening at the moment and associates it to the action. Example, if I'm sitting down next to the dog and he starts chewing on a shoe, for example, or chewing on the sofa or the blanket, something, I will slide my hand slowly under his chin so he doesn't see it. And I'll give him a slap under the chin. The dog's like, the shoe slapped me. What's going on? Dog psychology, right? Understand what you're dealing with. What kind of shoe is this? This is unbelievable. That's all he understands. Why do you think newspaper boys and mailmen get bit all the time, all around the world? When people deliver things at your house and the dogs bite them. Because the dogs are so used to seeing a hand coming, smack, 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 smack. So when a stranger comes and someone puts a hand down or pets or delivers something, same motion, and the dog thinks it's a threat. But that person is not his master or her master. The dog bites. Whose fault? Is it the dog's fault? Exactly. So, best tool in the world. But yeah. I know, I talk too much. What can I do?
Max say that I play coins with cat.
I play coins with cats?
But cat not scare. Doesn't. The cat doesn't scare.
This works with cats because I've done it to my cats. And I can keep my cats off the counter. I could keep them off the counters and the sofa. It works. What you do is you put the coins or the washers in the coin. It makes a really annoying sound for dogs, especially dogs. I don't know about cats. So what I did is I always kept it on the counter. So many things. My dog used to love digging holes in the backyard. Well, sure. At first, I'd go downstairs, open the dog. Jesse, what are you doing? Look at me. What's your problem? I'd go back upstairs, digging again. Jesse, stop it. Go outside and chase him everywhere and catch him. What? He doesn't understand why I'm yelling at him. So I fixed him, her. I put the can at the window. And every time that dog started digging, I took the can, opened the window, and I threw the can as hard as I could and smacked the dog with the can. It doesn't hurt them. It's light. It doesn't hurt at all. But it scares them with the noise. So again, just like the little slap under the chin. I'm digging and I'm having a good time, and all of a sudden, kabang, kabang, what the? I don't see anybody. I can't associate it to my owner. What's going on? Nobody here? What the? Scare the crap out of the dog again. Guess what? A couple of weeks later, no more holes in my backyard. The dog started associating digging with a really annoying smack in my head and a noise that made me crazy. Right? How to get the dog to stop sleeping on my sofa. And he loved my corner too. I'd come home and he'd look right at me like, what do you think you want? It was his sofa, her sofa. Okay, so every time he wasn't looking at me, I'd take the can, ting. What the? Every time the dog got on the sofa, a can came flying across the room. I'd look at the dog and I'd have fun. What? What you looking at me for? I didn't do nothing. Dog stopped getting on my sofa. It's as simple as that. All right? There are tricks. Try this. It works. Okay, I've talked too long. Everybody's ready to pull out their guns and have a showdown. So, we got any more? No, we just have the final statement here, huh? So again, the can, the best tool ever. I could give you more examples, but I have run out of time. Like I say, it scares them. You can't hurt the dog with a little can, throwing it in the air and hitting them. As hard as you want to throw it, you're not going to hurt the dog, so don't be afraid. But you want to scare it the second the dog is doing something it is not supposed to do. And it works. All right. If you want more, send me an email. I'll tell you more. Last, that's it. We're just about done here. Just want you to remember a couple things to finish up. All right, here we go. So remember, dogs need to run and play. Put them to work and they'll be happy. If you just tie them up all day, they're gonna go crazy. Okay, you gotta take them for walks in the morning and you gotta take them for walks in the evening, at least twice a day. Teach them how to fetch a tennis ball. They love to run. Go to the park, throw the ball. It might take a few weeks. He won't come back with the ball, but that's okay. Eventually he will, because, again, have a cookie. Every time the dog comes back, give him a little treat. The dog will come back. Repetition, 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 okay? And then eventually, you'll go out, have a cup of coffee, sit there in a chair, throw the ball 10 times, the dog will run, come back, run, come back, run, come back. The dog will let you know when he's tired, and guess what? You don't have a crazy dog anymore. Dog goes home, he goes to sleep. Job done. Great dog. Yeehaw. Just like that. All right.
Going
So,
to that you. I think you can do episode 6, 7, 8.
no,
about dogs
we're done.
With your wife.
No more dogs. Next week we're going to robots. That's right. Okay. They call dogs man's best friend. And now they equally say that dogs are women's best friend. What you need to remember is that you are, but why I can never read that. I gotta read this one now. What you need to remember is that you are the dog's best friend. Just look at the unconditional love they give you every time they see you. All right? You are responsible to take care of that dog as the dog will give its life to take care of you. It is unconditional. Even a bad owner, the dog still wags his tail and welcomes that person home. Doesn't deserve that person, but still loves that person and would do anything for that person. So think about it. You are your dog's best friend. So treat him the same. Okay? So that's it for today. It's the end of our show. I told you it'd be shorter. All right, so as always, invest in yourself, and good night from New Way and its staff and everybody else here. Take care.